personally thank Rabbi Marmer, Young Israel of Miami Beach, for hosting a shir at this time, a few days before Rosh Hashana, high season. The topic we're going to speak about is extremely important and special. I hope we're going to do justice. The topic is the month of Elul and Rosh Hashana and crowning Hashem, what that's all about. Elul is the final month of the year, the last month, according to the Jewish calendar. And very often people come to the end of a period, the end of a summer, and a person says, wow, the summer went by so quickly. There are so many things I wanted to do that I didn't get to do. I feel bad. Or any type of situation like that. We come to the end of a year, some of us, and we think, wow, another year went by. And there's so much I could have done, should have done that I didn't. Anything I can still do these last couple of days. So the Gemara, those people that are learning Daf Yomi now, are learning the Gemara Ksubas, which is considered unique. It's called Shas Koton, a mini Shas, in that this particular Gemara has in it such diversity, so many different topics from across the full spectrum of the oral Torah, Torah Shebaal Peh. This Gemara begins with a Mishnah that says, Noisnim lebesula shnei moser chodesh. That in the olden days, when we didn't have stores like we have today, everything ready-made, in the olden days, a girl would get married, she had to prepare a trousseau for herself. She needed dresses, she needed all the basic clothing that she needed. And the custom was to give her 12 months. From when they would get engaged, they would give her a 12-month period to prepare for going into full marriage, for leaving her parents' home and going into her new home. The 12 months of the year, each one of them is associated with a different symbol of the zodiac. We know, for example, Purim. Many of us that go to shul or other places will see on Purim a picture of fish. Mazel Adar Dogim. The Dogim fish is the symbol for the month of Adar. The month of Tishrei, judgment, the judgment that takes place on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, scales. Each month has a different symbol of the zodiac. The symbol for the month of Elul is Besula, a maiden. And each one of these symbols is explained. The Gemara speaks about it. The Sifrei Kabbalah, the Sifrei Chasidus and Machshava expound as to the meaningfulness of these things. But one of the rabbis, one of the students of the Baal Shem Tov, and it's interesting, tonight is the 18th of Elul, which is the birth date of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Chasidus, and also the day when he went public, when he started really teaching publicly and revealing, opening up this world of Chasidus to the world. So the one of these students of the Baal Shem Tov, the Bnei Yisachar, writes, Noisnem lebesula shnei moser chodesh, that Hashem is willing to wait. Hashem is patient. A person goes through the year, we get involved, we get diverted with all kinds of things, and we wake up, they blow the shofar. In the Ashkenazic custom is that starting Rosh Chodesh Elul, they blow the shofar in the shul every morning. What is the shofar? Wake up. Uru yeshenim mishnaschem. Wake up, you who've been sleeping all year. What do you mean sleeping? I go to work, I eat, I exercise. Sleeping spiritually, possibly. Sometimes a person gets diverted, our attention, and it's considered as if we're asleep. Our neshama is asleep, not really active. We're not putting our heart into our prayers. We're not doing what we can do. So here the Gemara says, Noisnem lebesula shnei moser chodesh. Hashem gives this month of Elul, which is represented by the maiden, that's the symbol of the zodiac, Hashem gives it the value of 12 months. That even if a person wasn't the way they could have been or should have been during the other 11 months of the year, and a person says, it doesn't pay now. It would be sort of insulting to Hashem. The last minute, I'm going to wait. No, that's not true. That's not true. We know the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Shuv yoim echad lifnei misascha, that even the last day of a person's life, if a person expresses sincere regret for the mistakes that they make, and they express a desire to do the right thing, the Zohar Kodesh says, "Les reusa tavo de isaviv," that even a good desire, a rotzain toiv, doesn't go lost. Hashem doesn't ignore it. A person says, I wish I could have given more charity. I wish I would have been better to my parents. I wish any kind of a desire, a rotzain toiv, is documented in heaven. Hashem respects that, and that's credited to a person's record. So this is the month of Elul that we're in now. Tonight is 18 days in Elul, which means there's still another 11, 12 days that we have an opportunity to do what we can to to do tshuva for the whole year, to make this year, Tafshin Pei Beis, end on a good note, on a happy note, on an upswing. And the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch tell us that that's special, but even more special, at a time when the Jews fell from an incredibly high level to rock bottom. Coming out of Egypt, the Torah says the whole world had tremendous respect for us. Shamu amim yirgozim. Nations heard about what Moshe Rabbeinu did for the Jewish people in Egypt, the 10 plagues. This was the most powerful country in the world at the time. The Gemara says not one slave had escaped from Egypt in hundreds of years, and here 600,000 people march out in broad daylight. And all the miracles that took place then, and then at the splitting of the Red Sea, and then going to Matan Torah on Har Sinai, the climax, and all the miracles that took place there. The Torah tells us any person who had any type of illness was cured. V'chol ha'om royim, the pasuk says. The entire nation was able to see. And the Gemara brings other psukim to show that any person who had any kind of physical illness was cured at the time of Matan Torah. The Gemara uses the wording paska zu hamasam, that the tumah, the impurity that the original snake brought into the world in causing Adam and Chava to eat from the Eitz Hadas, came to an end at the time of Matan Torah. So we were on an incredible high. And then from there, we go down to worshiping a golden calf, taking all that gold and silver that the Jews took out of Egypt, the gold, and throwing it into a fire and making an idol out of it. And Hashem says, I want to destroy all of them completely. And Moshe Rabbeinu, as a true loyal, the ultimate loyal leader of Klal Yisrael, goes to defend us. We know there are many people who would witness this kind of thing, people showing disrespect to Hashem and say it's a mitzvah to kill them. They should die. But that's not the Torah attitude. That's not the Jewish attitude. The pasuk says, "Ki lo yachboitz b'mois hameis." Hashem does not want a dead person to die. What does that mean? The dead person is a person, an evil person. The Gemara says, "Reshoim b'chayim kriyim esim." That a person who is totally evil is considered as if they're not alive. So Hashem says about those people, I don't want them to die. I want them to do tshuva and live. So Moshe Rabbeinu goes to bat, pleading with Hashem for 40 days to forgive the Jews, and he doesn't succeed. What does he do? The pasuk says, Kaveh el Hashem, Chazak va'ametz libecha v'kaveh el Hashem. Pray to Hashem, and if you don't see results, pray again. Moshe Rabbeinu prays for another 40 days, and this time a home run, a complete success. Vayomer Hashem solachti kidvarecha. When did that take place, that final 40-day period? It started from Rosh Chodesh Elul, and it was completed on Yom Kippur. And the Gemara says that therefore these days were established as Yemei Rotzain, days when Hashem showed goodwill. Hashem showed a willingness to forgive us even in the worst of circumstances. And therefore a person during these 40 days has the best chance to improve, to correct, to express sincere regret for our mistakes, and to plead with Hashem to bring us close to Him. The shofar is blown every morning. The Sfardim say every morning throughout the month of Elul, trying to use this last month to infuse light and power into the entire year, so that the year ends on a tremendous upswing. The halacha tells us that even those people who are not in the habit of reciting Tehillim, we know that Moshe David HaMelech and 9 other tzaddikim got together with divine inspiration, Ruach HaKodesh, and composed the book of Tehillim, the Sefer Tehillim. And it's brought that the Ruach HaKodesh in Tehillim is such that every Jew in every generation from the beginning of time to the end of time is included in the Sefer Tehillim. All the different challenges that we have, health challenges, financial challenges, relationships, any and every type of problem that any Jew could possibly have is included in the book of Tehillim. That's the Ruach HaKodesh that's in there. And it's a matching set. The 5 books of Tehillim are a matching set to the 5 books of the Torah that Hashem gave us. Bereshis, Shmois, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Dvorim. So Tehillim is very special, and it's brought that during the month of Elul, a person should try to recite 10 chapters of Tehillim every day. If a person does this, they complete the book of Tehillim twice. There's 150 chapters in Tehillim, 10 a day, 15 days, the person finishes it once. Another 15 days, finishes it twice. 2 times 150 is Bigematria Kaper. Kaper means forgiven, forgiveness. That this is one of the ways that a person prepares for Rosh Hashana, for the 10 days of Tshuva, for Yom Kippur. A person can't say 10 chapters, say 5 chapters. A person can't say 5 chapters, 1 chapter. There's always a rule in Judaism when it comes to anything, that Hashem does not expect what a person can't do. He wants a person to do what they can. And sometimes one person's 5 chapters could be like another person's 50 chapters, depending on how difficult it is for the person, the different circumstances involved. That's the month of Elul. Now we move on to Rosh Hashana. Rosh Hashana, the 10 days of Tshuva, Yom Kippur. Obviously, there's a lot more to say. We're giving some highlights, things to think about and things to work on during this period. King. Hashem has several titles. We know that one of the famous prayers that we say on fast days, and we say it on Rosh Hashanah and on Yom Kippur, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Make up your mind, which is he? He's a father or a king, or is he both? And the answer is that to all nations in the world, Hashem is a king. There's a pasuk, Melech al kol goyim, Hashem. Hashem is king over all the nations. And the Zohar Kodesh says a non-Jew once approached one of the rabbis and said, you think you're special, chosen nation? Baloney. In your Torah, it says, Melech al kol goyim Hashem, that Hashem is king over all the nations. And the answer is that's true. To all the nations, he's only a king. To us, the Jewish people, he's a father, he's a daddy. What's the difference? The Torah tells us there's a rule. Melech shemochal al kvoidoi, ein kvoidoi mochel. A king does not have the right to forego his honor. If a person shows disrespect to a king, there's punishment. There's punishment, severe punishment. Moired b'malchus is chayav misa, death penalty. Ish becheto yumas. There is such a concept. A father, av shemochal al kvoidoi, kvoidoi mochel. A father has the right to forego. A father can tell a child, I'm allowing you to sit in my chair. I'm asking you not to stand up for me. We know there are laws in the Torah. Respect kibud avoim. There's a parent is like a king in certain ways, but a parent is allowed to, permitted to forego their kavod. A king isn't. We know that Shaul HaMelech, King Saul, was punished severely because he didn't stand up, because when they crowned him originally, there were people that didn't show the proper respect and he didn't punish them for it. So this is one of the differences between the Jewish nation and the other nations. And this is why we say Avinu Malkeinu, that although you are a king and a king doesn't have the right to forego his respect, but as our father, you do. And this is what we plead with Hashem to forgive us, to bring us close to him. Now, this term king, this attribute of kingdom, the holy books tell us that this is actually the purpose for Hashem creating the world. Other attributes of Hashem, Chachma, Gevura, are not dependent on someone else. A person who's smart, person can be smart by reading one book and another book and 100 books and become a Chacham, a Novaim. Gibor, a person can do exercises, strengthen every muscle in their body, they're a Gibor. Melech ein melech belo yam. You cannot have a king without a nation. A person walks into a room in a forest and yells, I'm king, it's a joke. King over who? King means that there are others who are willing to accept your authority over them. Now, if a person walks into a room with a submachine gun and says, I'm in charge here, everybody agree, everyone in agreement says aye, and everyone says aye, of course. And everyone is going to do exactly what I say. Yes, of course. It's a joke. It's a joke. Put away the gun and then we'll see who accepts your authority or not. So here, in this world that Hashem created trees and animals and oceans and rocks and angels. None of them have something that we possess. There's something that we possess that makes us more important than everything else in creation, and that's Bechira, free choice. An angel is a robot. A snake is a robot. A snake will not harm a person unless it's given a direct command by Hashem to do it. A human being has Bechira. A human being has free choice. Hashem lets the leash out. You want, you keep Shabbos. You don't want, you don't keep Shabbos. You want, you eat kosher. You don't want, you don't eat kosher. And this is what puts us in a position to crown Hashem more so than anything else. When a human being who has the choice, who can choose to accept Hashem's authority or refuse to accept Hashem's authority, when a human being says, when a human being accepts Hashem's authority, that's being Mamlech Hashem, that's crowning Hashem. That's this nation, Ein Melech Belo Yam, we are that nation. Hashem offered the Torah to all the other nations, we're told, before he gave it to the Jews. Said no one will be able to say, we were never asked, it was never offered to us. It was offered. And each and every nation rejected it for different reasons. And it was only our nation, the Jewish people, who responded, Naaseh v'nishma. Where do we sign? Show us where to sign, and then you'll tell us what it's all about. That showed a level of faith and trust and respect for Hashem. That Naaseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we'll understand. And then we'll understand. Ve'erastichli be'emuna, I connect to Hashem with faith, and then v'yodates Hashem. And then I try to understand whatever I can. But just because I don't understand something doesn't mean I don't accept it. Whatever Hashem says, I accept 100%. What I understand, good. What I don't understand, I believe. I believe it to be true. We know that the David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Kol mitzvosecho emuna, that all the mitzvahs of the Torah are all based on emuna, faith. If a Jew says that they're showing respect for their parent because it's a nice thing to do, then they don't get credit for the mitzvah. If Hashem would say that a parent is supposed to stand up for a child, that a parent is not allowed to sit in a child's chair, we would do it that way. So we're not doing it because we think it's a nice thing to do. When Hashem told Shaul HaMelech, wipe out every man, woman, child, animal of the nation of Amalek, even the animals, don't let a single animal live, then a person showing any iota of mercy at that time was a terrible mistake. One of the reasons of why the animals, what did the people there, what did the animals do? That's such an injustice. It's not an injustice. Hashem knew that the Amalekim at that time were knowledgeable in magic. They had the ability to make themselves appear like an animal. Rashi says this. And they did this. So Hashem said, don't worry, we got your number. And Hashem said, animals also. And unfortunately, Shaul HaMelech didn't finish the job. He allowed the king Agag to remain alive. And as a result, we almost lost the entire Jewish nation. The holiday of Purim that we celebrate, there was a Haman, a descendant of Amalek, who rose to such a position of power that he was given carte blanche. Achashverosh gave him permission to wipe out the whole lahashnid la'regulabe. And it was only through the efforts of Mordechai Hatzadik and Esther Amalka that the Jewish people were saved, and it was turned around completely into a happy Jewish holiday, the holiday of Purim. But we see here this concept of the Jewish people being the ones to accept the Torah, accept the authority of Hashem, and to be willing to accept it blindly, with what people call blind faith. We know that when we recite the Shema is one of the most important declarations of our faith in Hashem. We cover our eyes. Shema Yisrael Hashem. Why do we cover our eyes? To show that believing is seeing. People say seeing is believing. If I see it, I believe it. If I don't see it, I won't believe it. That's a joke. That's a joke. If I see something, if I see that this is a book, I don't believe this is a book. I see it's a book. You don't say believe. Believe is what you don't see. What you don't see and what you don't understand completely, and yet I believe it to be true. That's emunah. That's faith. That's what the Jewish people showed when we stood at Har Sinai. So we have this concept of, in order for there to be a king, there has to be a nation. And therefore Hashem created a world, and he created human beings, and he gave us free choice. And this person would say, what do you mean? I mean, there's like 12 billion people in the world, and the Jewish people are a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of that. And then among the Jewish people, those that are observant are a fraction of the whole Jewish nation. So you mean to say he created all of this just for those couple of guys that are going to keep Shabbat? The answer is yes, most definitely yes. And the rest is sort of like window dressing. It's like in a movie, they have the main actors, and then they have the people on the sidelines. That's sort of, it doesn't mean that there isn't significance to them, to everything in creation, but compared to man, compared to the Jewish people, compared to those who believe in Hashem, no comparison at all. And we find the first mitzvah in the Torah is to perpetuate mankind, to bring another human being into the world, another child. Why? The answer is, Beroiv Om Hadras Melech. A king over 500 people is not the same as a king over 5,000 people. Malchus, this attribute of Malchus is measured partially by size. A congregation, a person has a congregation of 20 people, a person has a congregation of 500 people that accept their authority. We know that a rabbi, the Gemara says, Man Malki Rabbonan. Who are the kings of the Jewish people? The rabbis. What do you mean? What kind of king? The answer is they're teaching Torah. And those people that choose to accept their authority, this is an attribute of Malchus. So the first mitzvah in the Torah tells us, bring another child into the world, another child. Get married, bring children into the world to increase the kingdom of Hashem. When a person passes away, chas v'shalom, what do? We say Kaddish. If a person studies the prayer of Kaddish, it doesn't talk about death, doesn't talk about funerals. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shmei Rabba. May the great name of Hashem be heightened and sanctified. What does that have to do with anything? The answer is, the Arizal says the first word, Yiskadal, is made up of two words, Tagi Dal. The crown of Hashem has been diminished. Hashem lost a customer. He had 500 people, now he has 499. The kingdom of Hashem has been diminished, has been lessened. How do we restore that? What's our response to that? Yiskadal v'yiskadash Shemei Rabba. May the great name of Hashem be heightened. What is a name? A name is the honor and respect. A name is kingdom. We say Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso La'olam Voed. The name is the kavod. The kavod is the malchus, melech hakavod. So we say this prayer, Yiskadal v'yiskada Shmei Rabbo, that we want to restore. We recognize that something has been shrunken, something became lessened. The kingdom of Hashem became lessened. What do you mean? That the person still, their neshama went up to Gan Eden, or hopefully. So what? In Gan Eden, there's no bechira. In Gan Eden, there's no mitzvahs. A person cannot do mitzvahs. As long as we're living in this world, we have an opportunity. There's free choice. We can keep cranking out another mitzvah, showing greater respect, more respect to Hashem, more respect, honoring the king more and more. The moment a person leaves, they can't do that anymore. That's a little bit of the depth that's found in the Kaddish that we say. And now, we know that this first mitzvah in the Torah requires two people, a man and a woman, male and female. And we find, in fact, that the first letter in the Torah, you would think the alphabet starts with an aleph. It would be nice that the Torah should start with an aleph, right? We know that the 10 Commandments does begin with an aleph. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. But the Torah doesn't. The Torah begins with a beis, a large beis that you see in the Sefer Torah. And one of the important messages in this beis is the fact that Judaism is based on two, male and female, rabbi and student, sun and moon, the two great lanterns, sun and the moon. And when we talk about Hashem, even when we speak about Hashem, we know Hashem echad u'shmo echad. Hashem is one. The other nations believe in multiple. Elokim acherim, plural. We believe Anochi Hashem Elokecha, one Hashem, monotheism. And yet, the Gemara quotes a pasuk, Bayoim hahu yihye Hashem echad u'shmo echad, that there'll come a time in the future when Mashiach will come, when Hashem will be one and his name will be one. And the Gemara asks immediately, what do you mean? Today he's not one? And the Gemara says, that's right. Today we see two sides of Hashem, two aspects of Hashem. We see Hashem's kindness and we see Hashem's judgment. That when something good happens, something wonderful happens, we say one kind of blessing, Hatoy v'hametiv. When chas v'shalom something bad happens, we make a different blessing, Baruch Dayan Emes. But in the future, it's going to be Kuloi Toiv, all good. So we see that there is this concept of these two sides of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim. Yud Kei Vav Kei being the basic name of Hashem that usually refers to kindness, and Hashem's name Elokim, which usually represents judgment or kingdom, the attribute of kingdom. Velikim Malki Mikeda. All the mitzvahs that we perform in the Kabbalistic writings and in the Hasidic writings, there's a custom before performing a mitzvah that we say, L'shem yichud kudshe barichu u'shchinte, that I'm doing this mitzvah in order to bring about a divine union between Hashem and the Shekhinah. The word Shekhinah means the divine spirit of Hashem. What does this mean, Hashem and the Shekhinah? What does this mean? Are there two? Chas v'shalom, there aren't two. There's the way that Hashem appears on high, in the highest places, which is associated with this name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the way it's written. And there's the way that Hashem appears and manifests itself down below in this world, as a king, as a ruler. The way we pronounce Hashem's name Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. Ado, and then Noi. Adon means ruler. An Adon is a ruler. The presence of Hashem in the highest places is referred to as this Haya Hoveviyah, was, is, and will be, which is one of the definitions of Hashem's name Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the manifestation of Hashem on earth down below is referred to as the Shekhinah. Now, these terms are used throughout the Gemara countless times. This is not Kabbalah. This is basic Judaism. And we say when a person commits a sin, chas v'shalom, the Gemara says that a husband and wife, when there's unity between them, when there's harmony between them, Shechina beinehem, the divine spirit of Hashem is with them. The word Ish has the letter Yud in it, one of the letters of Hashem's name. The word Isha has a Hey in it. When husband and wife are living together in unity and harmony, it's Yud Kei, the Shekhinah, the divine spirit of Hashem is among them. When there's a lack of peace and harmony, Hashem says, see you later. And he removes himself, he removes the Yud, he removes the Hey. You have Eish and Eish. You have fire and fire, chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. So we have this concept of bringing about a union between Hashem and the Shekhinah. Within Hashem's name, Hashem's most basic name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, we're told that the first three letters are a set. The Yud Hey Vav represent the male aspect of Hashem, Kaviyachol, and the last Hey, that final Hey, is that Hey of the word Isha, which represents the female aspect. Again, there is no concept of male or female by Hashem. Hashem is not physical in any way. These represent kindness and judgment. It's terminology that's used in order for us to be able to relate to it. So when we perform a mitzvah, we say L'Shem Yichud Kudshe Barishcho Shchinte, to unite the Yud Kei and the Vav Kei, or to unite the Yud Kei Vav and that final Hey. When a woman is not able to be with her husband because she's in a state of impurity, it's called Nida. What is Nida? Nod Hey. The Hey is separated. The Hey is wandering from the Yud Kei Vav. That Hey, that final Hey, has become separated. The wife has become separated from her husband. When we do tshuva, tshuva is toshuv Hey. We're returning that Hey. We're restoring that union between Hashem and the Shekhinah. We know that in order to produce a child, it takes two. In order for Hashem to produce Shefa, to produce bounty and sustenance for us in the world, it requires this heavenly union, this divine union. When we do tshuva, we're participating in bringing about this divine union. Every mitzvah, the word mitzvah in Hebrew means a chibur, an attachment, a connection. A sin, chas v'shalom, causes a distance, a separation, a pirud. We know that the Jewish nation is referred to, we say on Shabbos at Mincha, the holiest time of the week, we say Ato Echad, V'shimcha Echad, Umi Ka'amcha Yisrael Goyechad Boretz. Hashem is one, His name is one, and there's no nation in the world that's one like the Jewish people when we're the way we're supposed to be. This union, this bringing about this union through tshuva, by correcting the things we need to correct. Now, on Rosh Hashanah, the most important mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah, the mitzvah d'oraisa, is the blowing of the shofar. We mentioned before that one of the things that the shofar represents is an alarm clock, a wake-up call. Uru yeshenim, just like an alarm clock. A person's asleep, they're in a deep sleep, and they need to hear a sound, a loud sound to get them out of their sleep. We can be walking and eating and talking and thinking and praying and learning and sleeping in a state of sleep where the person isn't really in it. The person doesn't have their heart into it. They don't have their mind in it. There's a pasuk, Bisfasav chibduni, v'liboy rochak mimeni. Hashem says they're playing lip service to me. They're saying the words, but their hearts are very distant from me. Their hearts aren't in it. And we know the Gemara tells us that a prayer without heart, a tefillah b'li kavana, is like a guf b'li neshama. It's like a body without a soul. It's like a car without a battery. Not that much alive. So that it's possible for people to be walking around in it and it's sleepwalking. They're not really spiritually alive. And one of the things that the shofar is doing is to reminding us, wake up, wake up. We have it within ourselves to wake up. Sometimes, again, just like at night, a person's sleeping, they're tired, they enjoy the comfort of the bed and the cover, it's all beautiful. But when the person realizes that there are important things to do, that I have an opportunity to do great things for myself, for my family, as comfortable as the bed is and everything, they jump out, they're out and running, and running. I want to live. Because the Gemara refers to sleep as 1/60th of death. So nobody wants to be permanently asleep, and nobody wants to be sleeping 24 hours a day. There is a purpose to sleep, but there's an important purpose to waking up. And the shofar is a wake-up call. The shofar also is intended to frighten us. There's a pasuk, Hayitoka shofar boir va'am lo yecharadu. Can a shofar be blown in a city and people will not tremble? Now we know the Gemara, when it speaks about thunder, the Gemara explains everything. The Gemara says, why did Hashem create thunder? We know that thunder is a display of Hashem's power, might, that crashing sound, which most normal, healthy people, when they hear serious thunder, they get frightened a little bit. What's the purpose of it? The Gemara says, Lo nivru ramim elo lefashet akmimi shebalev. That Hashem created thunder in order to smooth out the crookedness in our heart. What is crookedness in the heart? And what's a smooth heart? There's a concept of a smooth heart and there's a crooked heart. A smooth heart is a heart that's loyal, that's doing the right thing, that's doing positive things. And a crooked heart, the term crook or crooked, we know what that is. We know a crook is a person who's not doing the right thing. And something crooked is something that's not going on a straight path, on a righteous path. So the Torah says Hashem created thunder for those crooks, for those people who are living a crooked life, as a reminder, hey buddy, there's somebody watching. There's somebody that sees and knows everything you're doing, and you're going to be held accountable. This concept of thunder appeared at Matan Torah. When Hashem gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, we're told that there was thunder and lightning. And this is way before Steven Spielberg. This is way before the sound of it. And you wonder, did Hashem really need this? What was the purpose of all of this? And the answer is, because there's no one that knows the human psyche as well as Hashem. And Hashem understood that with all his loving kindness and with everything he's given us, this beautiful world, with trees and flowers and food, thousands of different types of foods, and oceans and beaches. And if a person would want to write a book on all the wonderful things that Hashem has given us in this world, there's a lot to say. And you would think logically, any normal, healthy human being would be just feeling gratitude all day. I'm so lucky, I'm so blessed, I'm so fortunate. And they just want to keep saying over and over, thank you, thank you, thank you, Hashem. But we know that that's not the case. Person gets into their car, turn the key. Today you don't have to turn the key. The key's in I don't even turn the key. Get into the car knows the key is close by. The car goes on by itself. The steering wheel bumps into shit. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, we were in horse and buggy. That distance that you go with the car today in a half hour could have taken a week years ago, and go through rain and snow and dirt roads and everything. And yet we're human. We're human. We take things for granted. We don't appreciate necessarily. And again, you'd think we'd act normal. We drive within the speed limits and everything. And we see that that's not the case. That unless there's a sign there's speed being checked by radar, and unless you hear on the ways, police, 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 we're not perfect. So we see that there's a need for yira. There's a need for fear. There's a need for consequences. If there's no consequences, then people don't do the right thing. And this is why at Har Sinai, when Hashem first gave the Torah, despite the fact that the Jewish response was Nasev and Ishma, Hashem, we're in all the way. Show us where to sign. We're committed 100%, and you'll tell us later what it's all about. The Gemara says Hashem lifted up the mountain, and he said, if you accept the Torah, fine. If you don't, you'll all be buried here. What kind of talk is that? What kind of statement is that? The answer is Hashem understood that we need that. That in life, in a relationship, we need ahava, we need love. Love is very important, and we need yira, we need respect, we need consequences, we need fear of punishment. A person knowing that if I don't do the right thing, if I don't treat my wife there's consequences in whatever a person does wrong, chas v'shalom. So this we saw at Har Sinai when we started our official relationship with Hashem with the Torah. And this we see again on Rosh Hashana. Rosh Hashana is the opening day of the year. The pasuk says, Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem. That the beginning, step one in Chochma, it starts from Yira. It starts from respect and fear. If a person starts with a good foundation of Yira, it's a natural progression into Ahava. The Hebrew word Yira, Yud Reish, Aleph Hey. The second half of the word Yira is the first half of the word Ahava. A person has that respect, whether it be for a parent, a spouse, a neighbor, whoever it is, then you can build on that. You can build on that, and it's a complete, healthy relationship. Without that foundation of Yira Chas V'Shalom, we don't have it. So this is one of the important messages in Rosh Hashanah, in the shofar being blown, a reminder that there is a radar, there is somebody watching, and there are consequences. So stay in line, try to stay in line, try to do the right thing. Now there's another very extremely important message for Rosh Hashanah and for life. The Navi tells us in the book Nehemiah, all the way at the end of the book Nehemiah, the pasuk says, Vayiga hachodesh hashvi, the 7th month arrived, which is the month of Tishrei, Uvnei Yisrael ba'areim, and the Jews were in their cities, Vayosfu kolhom keish echad el rechoiv, and all of them gathered like one, united like one, into the streets that were before the Watergate, and they said to Ezra HaSofer, who was the leading rabbi, the leading tzaddik at the time, bring the book Sefer Toras Moshe, which Hashem commanded the Jewish people. And Ezra brings the Torah, and for everyone to hear and understand, Biyom Echad Lachodesh Hashvi, on the first day of the 7th month, Rosh Hashanah. And they read the Torah, they read from the book of the Torah, and Ezra Sofer stood up on a wooden platform which was prepared for this, and the other great leaders stood at his right and left, and he opened up the book, Vayevorech Ezra Hashem Elokim, and Ezra declared a blessing to Hashem, and the entire nation answered, Amen, Amen. And it goes on describing this ceremony, and then it says, Vayomer Nehemiah, that Nehemiah said to the people, the Ezra HaKohen HaSofer, and the Leviim, all the leaders of the Jewish people were there, and they said, Al tisablu va'al tivku, don't mourn and don't cry. Ki boichem kol ha'am kishomam es divrei HaTorah, because the entire nation was crying when they heard the words of the Torah, when they heard that there's consequences, there's punishment. Life is not free. It's not free. Hashem put us in this world. He gave us all kinds of things. He has expectations. He expects certain things from us. And if a person chooses to ignore that, there'll be a time that they'll realize they made a mistake, a big mistake. So they were crying when they heard these words. And now the prophet said to them, Vayomer lehem, Lechu, the crying was necessary. It was important. The yira is very important. But now we go to the next level. We go to Lechu ichlu mashmanim u'shesumam takim. Go and eat rich foods and drink sweet beverages. On Rosh Hashanah, we're not fasting. On Rosh Hashanah, there's a mitzvah to dress in holiday clothing and to eat holiday foods and to drink good things. V'shilchu monois le'einochaim loi, and send portions to those who haven't prepared. Make sure that other people also have what to eat for the holiday. Ki kodosh hayoim ladonenu, because this day is holy for Hashem. Va'al teyotzevu, and do not be depressed. Ki chedvas Hashem hi mo'uzchem, because joy with Hashem, that's your strength. This pasuk is speaking about Rosh Hashanah, that Rosh Hashanah is not a day of mourning. There's an element of seriousness. There's an element of the shofar being blown. There are prayers that are being said expressing our accepting Hashem's authority over us. And once we do that, we're singing, we're clapping, we're rejoicing. We're realizing Ki chedvas Hashem hi mo'uzchem, that one of the most important aspects of authentic Judaism is simcha. When? On Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah and on every day. On Tisha B'Av, the halacha says, Mishenich nasov mematin b'simcha. It doesn't say we're not happy. It says we put it on a low flame. There's no such thing as a Jew ever letting go of simcha. Because chas v'shalom, a person is unhappy, it's a disconnect from Hashem. It's a disconnect from the Torah. We should be zeicha. This is just a taste of some of the important points of Elul, of Rosh Hashanah. We should be zeicha to take advantage of these days, remaining days of the year. There's still another 2 weeks approximately before the year comes to an end. We can still make it into a completely successful year, to turn things around completely by doing what we can to improve our relationship with Hashem, our relationship with each other, to be able to go into Rosh Hashanah with strength, from a position of strength, and to be zeicha to see the ultimate final simcha with the coming of Mashiach, the building of the third and final Beis Hamikdash, b'mehera b'yameinu, amen v'amen. Amen. Question.
What's unique about Rabbi Nachman's approach to Rosh Hashanah Yom Narayim?
What is unique about Rabbi Nachman's approach to Rosh Hashanah? One of the things that we just mentioned. You don't necessarily hear so many people emphasizing this. The simcha. There are people who see pictures of people in Uman and they're singing and dancing, and they say this must be Purim. This must be a Purim spiel or Simchas Torah. This couldn't be Rosh Hashanah. These guys must be Buddhists or something. You ever see a Jew dance on Rosh Hashanah? And the answer is, we just read the pasuk. This is in the Navi Nehemiah. That Rosh Hashanah is a combination. It's a combination of Yira and Ahava. And the truth is, every day of our lives, every aspect of the Torah, it's a combination of positive commandments, negative commandments. This combination of Yira and Ahava is a winning combination. So that's one of the points that's emphasized. We mentioned this wake up, this concept of waking up, which means newness, hischatshus. I wanted to mention this. It's good you asked this question. Rosh Hashanah comes out on Rosh Chodesh. It's the one holiday that comes out on Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month. So it's the beginning of the year and the beginning of the month. A double beginning. What's the message? That this is what Hashem wants from us every day and every minute, new. An old car, an old house, an old marriage, no fun, no excitement. New car, new house, new marriage, person who comes home after a whole day of work, and before they walk into the house, they think for a moment, that's my bride that I'm going to see. It's not my wife of 10 years and 25 years. A friend of mine, one of my friends always talks about his wife, my bride. And he's right. He's right. If you think of it that way, then it's special. If you think of it as new, it's special. And that's one of the messages that Rabbi Nachman puts tremendous emphasis, that in order for our mitzvahs to have power, to have punch, it's the difference between a person putting on tefillin for the 600th time or a bar mitzvah boy coming into the shul with those shiny new tefillin, and he's putting on those tefillin for the first time. A Breslova is doing that, is having a bar mitzvah every day, every day. It's the first time I'm putting on tefillin today in my life. And it's a game changer. It makes things very different. Another very important point that I left out, which is related to what we said. Kingdom, we mentioned kingdom is measured by how many people, the large crowd. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are a time when there are synagogues that have 1,000 seats, 1,500 seats. Throughout the year, they get 15 people, 25 people. Rosh Hashanah, all the seats are sold out. You don't come. What happened? Rosh Hashanah is a time to crown the king, Beroiv Om Hadras Melech. The more people that are there, the greater the glory of the king. That's the Kovod HaMelech. So Rabbi Nachman stressed that Rosh Hashanah is a time everyone should get together. Everyone should get together. Everyone meaning people that are not like-minded people. People who during the year would say, that's not my crowd. On Rosh Hashanah, there's no crowd. It's all one crowd, that kind of thing. There's an incredible secret. When Yaakov Avinu was about to pass away, the Torah tells us that he gathered his sons and he told them, we're going to reveal Mashiach now. Because he saw he had tzaddikim. He had his grandfather had two sons, a Yitzchak and a Yishmael. His father had two sons, Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov Avinu had all pure pedigree, all home runs, 12 tribes, the foundation of the Jewish people. He said, Hey Asfu, gather around, I'm going to tell you the coming of Mashiach. And the Shekhinah left him. So he thought, wow, I can't believe it. I can be fooled. I guess even though the Torah says Titain Emes Liakov, that Yaakov Avinu is the ultimate symbol of truth, but I guess I misjudged. I thought that they're all tzaddikim, so they all cried out, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That just like you believe in Hashem, we do also. So what's missing? The next pasuk, Yaakov says, He kovtzu v'shimu b'nei Yaakov. He kovtzu. First he said, Hey asfu, and then he said, He kovtzu. In Hebrew, an asifa is a committee meeting. There's a meeting, a committee is getting together to discuss something, or people that live in the same building, asifat hadayarim, getting together. It's people who are close to each other, who share certain things in common. Kibbutz is nidche, mekabetz nidche amo Yisrael. Kibbutz means people coming from far, people from all kinds of distant places being gathered in together. Yaakov Avinu said, first he thought that an asifa is going to do it. If we have an asifa of tzaddikim, we can bring Mashiach. When he saw that the Shekhinah left him, the divine spirit, he realized that a gathering of 10 tzaddikim or fit is not going to do it. It's going to require bringing people that are far, people that are distant, them coming close and joining. That'll bring the Geula. That's what he hid. And Rabbi Nachman stressed that Rosh Hashanah especially, because the Gemara says that there are 3 books that are opened on Rosh Hashanah. The book of Tzadikim, the book of Beinonim, and the book of Rishonim. The Tzadikim and Rishonim are signed and sealed completely on Rosh Hashanah. The Beinonim, the people that are somewhere in the middle, for them, Hashem gives them the 10 days till Yom Kippur to improve, to get their act together. So Rabbi Nachman said the time to gather to the tzaddik is on Rosh Hashanah. That an important time of coming to your rabbi, to the tzaddik, is Rosh Hashanah, because then the tzaddik and those that are with him are written into the book of life. Just like we know a Kohen eats truma, right? A Kohen can eat truma. A Kohen has a neighbor who's a chief rabbi, he's a Rosh Yeshiva, he's an Admor. If he eats truma, he's Chayat Misa, Bidei Shamayim, death penalty. The Kohen can give truma to his wife, he can give truma to his slave, he can give truma to his cat. The Kohen can feed truma to his animal because it's the Kohen's animal. And another person, a Levi, a Yisrael, can be Israel. It's not for him, showing that there are times that when a person is attached, has a certain attachment, they go with the law in the Gemara. If chas v'shalom, a person kills somebody by accident, he goes into exile. His rabbi goes with him. Where the student is, that's where the rabbi is. Where the rabbi is, that's where the student is. These are some of the highlights of the points related to Rosh Hashanah. Anyone else? Please.
You just said calling for Mashiach. How do you know how Mashiach's been brought yet?
Obviously, we don't know enough, or we haven't done a good enough job. We said we have some ideas. If we all get it together, Mashiach will come. So
when I went to another share of the wall of the White House, the rabbi teaching us, everybody's going to forget about God.
They're all correct. They're all right. That there is such a statement in the Gemara that Mashiach will come when he's least expected. Behesach hadas. When many people are going to be about to say, I guess he forgot to show, and then he's going to show up. So it's not a contradiction. Very good point.
Clapping.
The concept of clapping. You're reminding me of all kinds of things I wanted to include. There's a custom in Breslov that when they recite Hamelech, when they recite the word Hamelech, they clap. A coronation. We just had the Queen of England. The Queen of England, we're mentioning her in the Holy Young Israel of Miami Beach. The Queen of England went away. We know that when there's a coronation, when there's a major celebration, there's applause. The applause is because we believe that Rosh Hashanah is the time we're coronating Hashem for another year. So at the time of reciting that word Hamelech, there's an applause. There are some people that started doing it at other places also, but the original custom was when the Chazan begins, the second Chazan in Shachris, when he begins Hamelech, that's where the applause takes place. And again, it's a reminder, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we all here in Shul? We're here to crown to renew our acceptance of Hashem's authority over us as our King and our Father. Both. Wishing everybody a happy, healthy New Year. All types of Yeshuas and Refuas that all of us need. If anybody wants, there's a website called Breslov Torah that has shiurim by my rabbi, who is a real authority in Torah, and also shiurim that I've given. It's free. I have cards here that have the name of the website if anybody wants to connect.